Hello Team FD and welcome back to World Cup Review. It's exactly what it says on the tin. Joining me as ever is Patrick Van Straten. How are you after the latest round of fixtures?
I'm
Obviously
pumped.
We're going to discuss them.
Pumped. I love the World Cup again. It's got
Good. This enthusiastic Van Straten is alien to me. I feel somewhat
I'm
uncomfortable.
faking it, so don't worry.
Now our talking point, which is how we normally kick off the show, is VAR on this piece of paper.
No.
But because I'm such a lovable rogue, I'm going off piste. I'm going off topic. This is boring. It's been done to death. I actually want to talk about something that booted off on my Twitter timeline yesterday.
Okay.
And it is many an England fan saying we should actively try and finish second in order to enable an easier route to the World Cup final.
Yes.
Which seems like we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves.
Sure.
What are your thoughts on this? Because I made mine pretty clear, but I will digress later.
I think it makes sense. I see why people want to do it. Like, you want to maximise your chances of winning the tournament. It's a short tournament, and ultimately the goal of the FA trying to reboot English football, insofar as they're doing that, is to win a World Cup. If you've got a shot at doing it, you should maximise your chances. That said, I think it's weird to assume that if you win the group and you go and play, say, Brazil in the second round, or whoever it's going to be, after they play Mexico or whatever, the idea that you're going to get stuffed by Brazil but you'll comfortably beat Switzerland or Sweden seems to me to be really, really strange. Like in this World Cup, Sweden have been good, Switzerland have been good. All the small teams have actually been really, really solid, and I'm not sure there's an easy draw in the second round, or in the quarters, or in the semis.
No. The smaller nations, you're right, have caught up with the bigger nations tremendously. That gap has been narrowed significantly this World Cup, hasn't it? Which is one of the more interesting sort of observations. I think this is a little bit pathetic, and I think it's a culmination of England becoming less and less relevant at major tournaments. I think there's an air of short-termism to it, as in, okay, this makes the next fixture easier, but okay, that buys us one more game. You are going to run into a big team, a so-called big team at some point, and the definition is becoming less and less clear, right? What a big nation is in the footballing landscape. I also think it's not good for this current crop of players, these young players, to sort of be bogged down with this mentality as well, in terms of fearing who their next opposition are, right? Because Gareth Southgate, one of the positive things that he's done is bring down the average age, and words like fearlessness have been thrown about, and the players seem to be playing with more expressiveness, with more joy, a little less responsibility maybe. And I think lumbering sort of, oh, we can beat X team as opposed to this team on them is counterintuitive. I don't think it's in the DNA of a professional sportsman either to kind of go out on a whim in the third game in a World Cup finals. I just think it's poor, and ultimately it's just terrible sportsmanship.
But also, I think you want. This is England's first actual test at this tournament. Like, everyone was getting so ahead of themselves after they stuffed Panama, but actually Southgate came out afterwards and said exactly what you wanted him to say, which is actually the performance against Tunisia was better. It was better. They created far more in attack. Like, they created far more in attack and actually gave away less in defence. Like, they had a really, really good performance against Tunisia. Panama was kind of an easy game where they put in a decent performance and pretty much everything they hit went in. This is going to be their first actual sense of whether anything's wrong with their team, because nobody's really tested it yet. So what you want is to have a really good look at your first team, have somebody test it, and there's no better attack in this World Cup to go up against than Belgium. This is essentially a game where England can see what their problems are with no consequences whatsoever. If they win, then they've won the group. If they lose, then they will go into an easier side of the draw. So they might as well play to win and see if they've actually got any structural issues, because we don't know, they haven't been tested.
Yeah, and people like Arsene Wenger have obviously highlighted the fact that Kyle Walker, he thinks, might be a chink in our armour, so to say, against bigger sides, and I think that is a really interesting observation, in that we've played teams where we've dominated possession, and that has been facilitated by the formation, but you know, we're playing those wing backs against a bigger side. If they drop all of a sudden, you have guys isolated in midfield, and playing against a bigger side. I mean, this is kind of buys into, oh, let's avoid bigger sides. But like you say, it's not healthy if we don't identify those weaknesses sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
But guys, what do you think because we're always keen to know what the FD squad thinks of these matters. Let us know in the poll just above. Should England actively field a weaker team and hope to finish second, or should they go for broke and put Belgium to the sword, let's say? Although, resting your players, your first team players, rotation is a different thing entirely, right? Just thought I'd throw this in now because,
sure.
I mean, that can be perceived as smart. That, you know, resting key personnel and playing Jamie Vardy, playing, you know, whoever against Belgium, regardless of the result, is a different thing than actively trying to lose, right?
Sure, yeah. That's why you bring a squad. And I think against Belgium, I think we could agree that if the 3-4-3 looked more like a kind of, you know, 5-2, I can't remember the last number, 3, then then I think that might be quite interesting to see whether you can play on the counter-attack if you need to, because Harry Kane's not as much of a counter-attack striker as Jamie Vardy is, or as Marcus Rashford is. So I think, yeah, it's just a good opportunity for Southgate, who's clearly got his head screwed on, to look at the different options.
Yeah, and yeah, we have the tools to mix it up, you know,
Jamie
against
Vardy
any
is a massive tool.
Level of team. But yes, vote in the poll just above. A little bit off piece there, but I enjoyed that.
I did as well.
You know, so
real debate, real questions, real issues.
Started off on a flyer.
Real talk.
Our first winners are Sampaoli's Argentina. Why? Pourquoi?
They've qualified from their group in second place, and they're now going to go up against France, which is going to be a really exciting matchup. This is now the 4th consecutive tournament in which they've got out of the group stages, kind of what you'd expect from Argentina. But it had a lot of luck about it. I thought they beat Nigeria 2-1. Obviously, that 86-minute winner, right foot volley from the centre of the box from Marcus Rojo. Like, it turned out that Nigeria can only man mark when you don't throw forward literally 7 guys in the box.
Yeah.
Like, there comes a point where you can't mark everyone. Anyway, 2 of Rojo's 3 international goals for Argentina have been scored against Nigeria. Also got one against them at World Cup 2014, so they'll be sick of the sight of him, and so they should. He's rubbish.
He scored them on the same day as well.
Ooh,
how weird is that?
Spooky. Rubbish, though, he is. Anyway, Sampaoli made 5 changes from the Croatia defeat. Now, I do that because there are rumours that the team picked their own lineup for the match, inexplicably picked the ghost of Javier Mascherano. And also there's a video you might have seen of Sampaoli asking Messi if he's going to bring on Aguero, which is sick.
I've heard about it.
Sampaoli's little head has just retreated into his body. He's got no neck left. And
he looks like the guy from Coach Trip.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
And Louis Spence. Put that tweet on there.
I don't know that.
Go on like that.
Anyway,
Big.
there was an international debut for keeper Franco Armani. That's quality.
He's 100% a
I mean, Willy Caballero is a pretty incredible name in itself, because Caballero means like a knight, but it also means like gentleman, like in Spanish. So the old Willy Gentleman replaced by Frankie Armani. This is amazing. What a lineup. However, there were some really weird things that went on in this game. I mean, Banega started and he was really good, but Maxi Meza was playing and he is absolute hot garbage. Higuain stayed on for the whole game despite being Bush. Dybala can't get off the bench despite being probably the second best Argentinian player in the world. It was really, really weird. And frankly, they lucked their way through this. I don't really think they deserve to be in the second round.
Yeah, I can't wait for a game against France. One team, you know, who can't attack versus one team that can't defend. Something has to give, doesn't it, Patrick van Straan? But like you've intimated there, Argentina haven't been great so far. Let's quickly recap their tournament. They drew their first game and lost 3-0 to Croatia. Croatia, who topped the group. And this is probably down to their aging squad. Now, Sampaoli's starting exile was the oldest Argentina side in World Cup history at 30 years and 189 days.
That's all Mascherano.
Wow.
Bringing that up.
Only 2 players in the starting exile, Banega and Tagliafico, are under 30, and Banega is 29.
Yes.
I actually thought he was Argentina's arguably one of their best players on the night.
Yeah, definitely. The ball for Messi's goal is...
Yeah. Meanwhile, 24-year-old Dybala, like you said, saw no action. Argentina can pretty much thank Messi for that win. Man marked throughout the entire game, and people like Atiba, is it?
Yeah.
Were doing a very good job on him, but he still completed 7 dribbles and scored an outrageous goal. The second touch is better than the first touch. the second touch in midair to continue it into his path to then put it across
The first touch, watching it live, I thought he'd it. Like it looked like it was behind him, but then it's sort of like...
He kills it and you think, yes, that's a touch we've come to expect from Messi, but brings it with him. And it's just
It's
genius.
such a good goal. It's Bergkamp-esque. Almost as good as Bergkamp's, but not as good, let's be real.
And on the subject of Messi, those 7 dribbles took him to 107 completed at the World Cup, the most of any player since 1966, overtaking Maradona, who previously had the most with 105. Like that, pretty outlandish, but it just shows you that, you know, the level of player that he's working with. He's literally beating everyone, and they still are toilet. Speaking of Maradona, the Argentine had to be treated after the game by paramedics. During the game, he seemed to be a little off for various reasons.
I thought he seemed incredibly on.
The glass in front of him was almost, you know, opaque at the end of it, after his hands had, you know, smeared into them. Bleep that out, because it's, you know.
I've never seen a more coked up bloke though.
Yeah.
Except that time he did a line
High
on the pitch.
as a kite.
He's just been doing fist bumps that whole game.
And what was he flipping off the Nigerians for? They're a lovely bunch.
Over to our losers now. We can only start in one place. It's with Germany. And my God, this has been the source of some Schadenfreude in the office on the part of Joe Tomlinson.
Schwarzwälder Kirschtorte. Black Forest Gatto cake. And they have, you know, disappeared down a black hole, haven't they?
That's the cake.
Well...
Oh, shut up. Don't f***ing defend Black Forest
I mean,
Gatto.
it's the only cake I can remember in German. I'm not saying I rate it.
Sachertorte. Oof.
Anyway, Gleben. What does that mean?
I don't know.
The world champions lost 2-0 to South Korea.
Isn't that the word that like
And
that like Ross and Rachel's kid says in Friends, and he's like, she's gonna be a scientist because it means like mushroom or something. Gleben.
Anyway, the world champions lost 2-0 to South Korea to finish bottom of their group, and it's only the second time that Germany have crashed out in the first round, the last time being in 1938. Cue
where this is going.
a barrage of, you know, World War II jokes. You know, instead of making ill-founded jokes, go and watch World War II in colour on Netflix. Outstanding entertainment, both informative and
Devastating.
yeah, soul crushing. Coming in again, what an effortless section this has proved to be. Germany are the 3rd successive World Cup reigning champions to be eliminated in the group stages after Spain in 2014 and Italy in 2010. It's actually happened 4 times in the last 5 World Cups, and it's that legacy thing. It's very, very hard, isn't it, to maintain. Now, previously against Asian opposition, Germany won all 5 World Cup meetings, but Son's last-minute World Cup goal, Son's last-minute goal, you know, extinguished all their hopes, didn't it? You know, so cool.
That was quality. Neuer trying to skin a man like in the final third.
Yeah.
Gets robbed. Oh, it's magical.
Neuer, why is he starting this
Just
tournament?
knock it into the box, you tit. Stop trying to do someone.
I know, yeah. No, I do kind of respect that though, that he'd accepted their round. No one else had, and he just thought.
That's what you think it was. He wanted to complete a World Cup
Yeah,
dribble.
I think he wanted to, you know, only 100 and whatever, 6 behind Messi now. 20% of all goals scored in the 90th minute of World Cup matches have now been scored at the 2018 World Cup patch.
Wow.
So largely thank you to Vol. Wow. Who's got the better?
Wow.
Who's got the better? What's it called? Clive.
Owen Wilson.
Owen Wilson. Clive Owen. I was going for. Wow.
Oh, that's
No,
good.
That was quite good.
I thought that was quite good.
Wow. No, really bad. No. Wow.
I got really like gone with the wind. Oh wow.
That sounds more Family Guy.
I've never seen Family Guy.
Anyway, moving on. What a shambles of an episode. The stats, exactly how you'd imagine, given that South Korea deployed a pretty deep block through this game, didn't they? Germany had 74% possession, had 28 shots, only 6 coming on target. There's some gilt-edged opportunities missed in there, weren't they? Mats Hummels off the shoulder being picked off the bunch. 19 of those shots came in the penalty box. Someone needs to snap up the South Korean David De Gea. He plays for a team. Oh, who does he play for? I don't know, but the nickname rolls into David De Gea. Let us know in the comments below. Germany also had 3.6 times as many passes than the Koreans, but still couldn't break them down. So you take over now. My section is going to require surgery in the edit.
Yeah, I think to be honest, you'd expect if you played all these games back that Germany would probably score a couple more goals and do a little bit better. Like, they did create a bunch of shots in the box. It took a heroic goalkeeping and defensive performance to keep them out. But nobody's really been at the races this World Cup, with the possible exception of Mats Hummels. Except for the chances he's missed defensively, he's done as much as anyone could possibly have done, given the broken nature of that team. In the first game, he managed to snuff out some chances pretty much on his own, but he was left on an island the entire game.
Wasn't a happy bunny, was he, post-match?
No, and he was completely right to be, right? In this game, made 4 tackles and interceptions, put an end to a bunch of dangerous counter-attacks. And you know, there's only so much you can ask your centre-back to do. He can't defend and score all the goals at the same time. I kind of feel sorry for the defenders because the system has just completely gone out the window. I also feel a bit sorry for Mesut Ozil, dropped after the first game when he was the only person trying to track Irving Lozano. Germany were equally in the second game without him. Came back, and in this match he created 7 chances and completed 4 dribbles. That 7 chances created the most in one game in the tournament so far by anyone, and yet could not get a goal. Maybe that's because Timo Werner was pulling out wide so much of the time. He had just 3 shots of Germany's huge 28, 0 on target. He was dispossessed 3 times. That's the most of any German player, kind of what you'd expect. A little bit of a thankless task for him. Müller came on. He's got 1 goal in his last 22 games for Germany. I mean, weirdly, when you look at it, now with confirmation bias, it seems like this was coming a little bit. But I actually think that Toni Kroos has been the problem at this World Cup. Like, don't get me wrong, he still does what he does well, but you can't play him in a 2-man midfield. And he was Germany's most prolific shot taker at the World Cup with 15, averaging 5 a game, 8 more than Werner managed overall. That is absolutely ridiculous from your guy who's essentially going to be your deep distributor. Germany were just a shambles at this World Cup.
Scheiße, proper Scheiße. I've run out of time in the studio, so let's move on. Sweden! They're our next winners. You're not blonde, I'm not blonde. Let's talk football.
Blonde men are gross. Anyway, they qualified for the round of 16 as group winners improbably after beating Mexico 3-0 on Wednesday. That means that the Blaugold have qualified for the knockouts in the last 4 finals at which they've competed: 94, 2002, 2006, and now 2018. It's actually arguably their biggest World Cup victory since they beat Bulgaria in the 1994 third place playoff. Forgot they came 3rd in that World Cup. Forgot that Bulgaria came 4th. Weird. But it was also Mexico's heaviest defeat at the finals since Germany beat them 6-0 at the 1978 tournament. And there was another record being broken here as well. Jesus Gallardo, he got a yellow card after 15 seconds. That's the fastest ever booking at a World Cup.
Nice.
Amazing. What a bloke.
Mexico actually had more possession here on 67% and more shots with 20 than in either of their other 2 group games here. So maybe 3-0 is pretty generous on Sweden. Mexico a little bit unlucky in the final third, but they only hit the target 3 times to Sweden's 5, so ultimately have themselves to blame there and were made to pay for some sloppy defending. Their day pretty much summed up by Carlos Vela. He had 5 shots, 3 off target and 2 blocked, although one of those shots off target was a decent curled left-footed effort that was sneaked past the post. Sweden's defence, pretty resolute, been resolute this whole time, haven't they, in the group stage against Italy, where I think they were barraged with shots and stood the test there, didn't they? And it's proved to be the case at this World Cup. No one failed to make a tackle or interception, and as a team they clocked up a whopping 33. So there is a team that is greater than the sum of their parts. The star man being Captain Granqvist, of 3 tackles, 5 clearances, 3 aerial duels, 1 shot on target, which was the penalty, and 1 goal. It's very Harry Kane-esque penalty as well from the big strapping defender. Top bins, it was glorious. His strike from the spot means that he becomes the first defender since Fernando Hierro in 2002 to score 2 penalties at a World Cup. And the first Swede to score 2+ goals at the World Cup since your boy Henrik Larsson, also in 2002. Zlatan's not in there. Interesting.
Rubbish.
Thought he was, the talisman.
Overrated.
It has been for the last, whatever. The result sets up a last 16 meeting with Switzerland, while second place Mexico now face Brazil. So it looks like they might not see that infamous, at this point, 5th game for another World Cup. But if, I actually wouldn't mind if Mexico beat Brazil. I like Brazil, but
I love Mexico.
tacos, isn't it? One novelty stat to round things off. After Wednesday's results, it's confirmed the only previous World Cup final that could be repeated in the tournament is Brazil versus Sweden in 1958, which was what, Pato?
What do you mean?
Score-wise.
I think it was 5-2 Brazil, possibly.
Did he get that right? Let us know in the comments below. But let's move on to our final losers, and yeah.
Our second and final losers are Egypt. Why? Tell me.
They crashed out to the World Cup, Pato, to Saudi Arabia, of all people, losing 2-1, meaning they finished bottom of the group on a big fat nil point, and manager Hector Cooper, who wasn't so super duper at this World Cup, has left after 3 years in the dugout. Walk like an Egyptian, clean out the exit. Is he even Egyptian? No, probably not with a name like Hector Cooper. No. It compounds a damning record for the Pharaohs at this World Cup, though. They've only reached the final, at the World Cup full stop, sorry. They've only reached the finals on 3 occasions, which is 1934, 1990 and 2018, and have failed to win any of their 7 games. Only Honduras have a worse World Cup record at World Cups. Says down here, yeah. 9 games without a win, Emilio Izaguirre's men. And Salah did open the scoring, taking his tally to 2. 1 less goals than photos he had with Kadyrov. But moving on, it wasn't enough to stop his side from succumbing to a 3rd defeat. However, it was his side's first World Cup goal from open play since 1934. So a step in the right direction, By 2090, they'll be, good, maybe.
No, that seems unlikely.
Sure turn.
There was one positive for Egypt, though. Their goalkeeper, Essam Al-Haderi, became the oldest player ever at the World Cup. 45 years and 161 days. That makes him older than Roberto Martinez by about half a year, over a year older than Serbian coach Mladen Krstajic, and 1,164 days older than Senegal's Aliou Cisse. And he actually saved one of Saudi's 2 penalties, making him, of course, the oldest man to save a penalty at the World Cup.
It's a great save.
Yeah?
You see it? No. Tipped onto the crossbar.
Oh, that's it. It always looks good when you tip it onto the crossbar. But I think that you can't really quibble with the results. Saudi are the better side. They're a good possession team. They've been led by Pizzi, and now they've got the ability to kind of hold the ball against pretty much any opposition. A 64% possession in this game, 23 shots to 7, 8 on target to 1. It's their first win at a final since 1994, ending that 12-game winless run, drawn 2, lost 10, and their star man was winger Salem Al-Dosseri. 4 shots, 5 dribbles, 3 tackles and interceptions, 93% pass accuracy, and 2 chances created. So I think Saudi are going to come away from this tournament far more satisfied than Egypt. But what we want to know is, given that Saudi managed to register a win in their final game, who actually is the worst team at this World Cup?
Cool.
Because there's been some dog shit.
There has.
France is shit. France have no business being as they are. Argentina are the worst team ever. They're so dull, and they've got the best player of all time.
Yeah.
Gash.
Yeah, I'm more annoyed at the Champs than I am at San Paolo. But I feel like, we should probably wrap this up. But boom, we're out of this piece. That is World Cup review. Until Monday, please tune in on Euro Football Daily, where I believe is where it will go live. I have been wrong before though. What else is on?
I don't know. Stat Wars The Champions. I might be on it. Little treat for the fans out there. Obviously Sunday Vibes, where we will be discussing some World Cup matters, some non-World Cup matters as well, I promise. Be looking at some transfers over on Transfer Review. That'll be the 2 of us again, so check in if you want. It's a bit of a central midfield special. So yeah, all sorts of good stuff going on. And just enjoy the World Cup, enjoy life, go outside, eat an apple.
It's short, baby.
Bye.